So I just finished a deposition yesterday of a defense expert witness, a doctor who has become the doctor du jour for the defense. And sure enough, writes a report, has the same language, calling the plaintiff a malingerer, that there's no injury, that no care was necessary from the incident, the same kind of stuff. And I want to talk about, how do you impeach a neurosurgeon who's, obviously learned and has a lot of education, who's going to know more about medicine than you do? How do you ask questions in a way that if they are going to lie to you, misrepresent, etc., that you get that in a way that you can use to impeach them at trial? In a deposition, especially with someone who thinks they are super smart, tricky, and or who doesn't want to give answers, I might say maybe he's not exactly the most honest. The way to get good impeachment is to push for an answer. Always, always, always. Then when they give BS answers or they add stuff that they want to make sure that if you're going to play it is helpful to the defense, you got to push again and go back with just a question and an answer. So let me give you some examples. So I asked this doctor, you get paid through this third-party company. Yes. So you use that third-party company to help you organize your records, et cetera. Yes. Well, who owns that company? I don't know. You have no idea who owns that company? Nope. Do you own part of the company? Well, I own 1%. So you're like, right away, you understand that he's lying. I'm like, are you lying to me? Counsel, the objection, don't, you're being rude, whatever. I'm saying, sir. So I asked you if you knew who owned it. You said no, but now I've refreshed your memory that you actually own part of it. Well, I guess you could say that. Do you know who owns any of the other 99%? No, I don't. Now this is 3 or 4 opportunities where I could have said, do you know who owns the company? He says no. And then I just leave it. No, but I keep pushing. I said, so I just want to make sure. How long you've used this company for how long? 5 years. Right? Now I know stuff about this company, but I want to push him to see if he's going to tell me the truth. So in the 5 years that you've known this company, you have no idea who the other 99% owners of the portion of the company that you own 1%. That's right. Well, doesn't your wife own the other 99%? Well, yeah, I think she does. So, doctor, so you see that now I have things to use to impeach him. What a slimeball misrepresenter, right? Lies to me under oath, poo-poos it like, well, I can just tell you my memory's bad and hope that you leave it alone. But by pushing, you get, I have no idea, to yes, my wife owns the company. So of course I push further. Do you live with your wife? Yes. So you're still married to her? Yes. So when you told me you had no idea who owned the other part of the company, it was actually your wife that you're currently married to and live with. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Right? Great cross-examination. I haven't asked this neurosurgeon anything about medicine, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm pushing. I push. I don't accept. I don't know. I don't accept. I don't remember. I don't accept. I'm not sure. Now let's go to money, or let's go to how many times have you worked with, let's see, there's a particular firm that I knew that he worked with from other depots. I say, how many times have you worked with this firm? Maybe a dozen times. Over what period of time? 5 years. Have any other firms that you can think of that you've worked with? He says this name of this other firm. I said, can you give me an idea how many times you've worked with them? No, I can't. So now I want to push. Well, doctor, just, you went to what, 12 years of medical school. You make hundreds of thousands of, at least what you say, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars from medical legal work. Maybe you've been asked this question before, all this stuff the jury's going to see. So let me just ask you, you can't say in any way how much work you've done with this firm. Not in any way. Well, no. More than one? Yes. So I just want to give you one more chance. Your best estimate of how often you've worked with this firm, at least a dozen times. Now I'm like, I've asked this question 5 times, right? So your best estimate is at least a dozen times. So it could be 12 or a billion. Counsel, I told you, I gave you my answer. I said, I get it. But when you say at least a dozen times, can you be any more specific? I would say maybe at least 2 dozen times. Now I've asked this now 8 times. I'm like, okay, so could it be more than 24? Maybe. Well, could it be 100? I don't know. 200? I don't know. So your best estimate, sitting here under oath as a designated expert, having charged $40,000 and are going to come to trial, your best estimate is 24 or more times, and you can't be more specific. Now, I have a depo where he was asked and a good lawyer who had some records, where he admitted he worked for that firm 250 times. And that was 3 years ago when he answered that. So now I have a juxtaposition, a cross-examination that I can show to the jury. And I said, you're calling my client a malingerer, an exaggerator, someone who's not giving the accurate information, either understating or overstating things. So you're a malingerer. Counsel, I take great offense to that. Well, you're grossly understating the amount of work that you've done, and I just proved it. So would you call yourself a malingerer? Aren't you doing the very thing with this jury that you're trying to take shots at the plaintiff to get the jury to believe the plaintiff less? So they should believe you less because you're not being straight up. Now, I have that evidence. All of that is good cross-examination. Has nothing to do with medicine. And the reason you get it is because you got a slimy defense lawyer, a defense expert. The lawyer's not slimy, the expert. I got no qualms about talking about him. But because I pushed, because I didn't accept the social, if I had asked that question in a club and I'm like, hey, how much work have you done? And they go, I don't know. Then we just move on. But in a depo, under oath, your job is to push them to get as specific as you can. If they won't give it to you, to then say, just give me your best estimate. And if they can't, you say, so you have no recollection of any type. Well, I don't keep track of that. I'm like, I get it, but just generally, you have some recollection of what you do in your life. So you're telling us that you can't give us even any general statement. And then they realize that you've caught them. So then they give you another BS answer. You push them on that. You push them on that. This is what good cross-examination is. And it's why that I say the most effective experts against my clients and me are the ones that are just straight up. How many times you work for that firm? 253 times. You know, how much money did you make? Well, last year I made $432,000 or $2,395,000. That's not nearly as good of, cross-examination as if they lie about it. And then misrecollect, suddenly have, amnesia And then you can show the jury that if they're not being straight up with you about these things, that really aren't that big of a deal, except for the fact that he's not telling you the truth. And if he's not telling you the truth, and the only way you determine if the surgery is related or not, because you got two board certified doctors, one saying it's absolutely required and one saying it's not. If the one who's saying it's not won't tell you the truth about money, about shades, everything, and only will answer questions after you make it so uncomfortable and obvious that they are clearly not telling the truth, then how can you put any weight on that testimony when they say this surgery is not required? When it's simply the opinion of one doctor over another, there's no hard and fast rule. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're weighing what the defense doctor says about, well, they don't need this surgery, you can't really trust. You can't put any weight on what that witness is saying. Because when you analyze all the other things that they say, then you realize that they're willing to shade the truth or flat out just tell you that they don't remember when they do, and tell you only things that they think help the defense, but won't tell you the things that they think don't help the defense. So you can't put any trust in that at all. So those are some of the real basic skills, especially with expert witnesses, about pushing. If you have any other questions, please reach out. My info's in the bio or the video description. Anybody can do this. You just got to push. Come on now.